Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, John Harcar, and I'm here today with Loren Wernette. And what we're going to talk about is being willing to fail. I know it's something a lot of people, really struggle with. And guys, remember, here at Investor Fuel, we help real estate investors, service providers, and really all real estate entrepreneurs 2 to 5x your business. And we do that by providing tools and resources to help you build that business you want to build, which in turn helps you lead that life you want to live. So Loren, welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to talk about this because, I think this is why people don't get to where they need to be. But before we get into all that, get into the weeds of all that, tell us about you. Tell us about how you got into real estate, kind of what got you to this point in your life.
Sure. So Loren Wernette, live in Raleigh, North Carolina. I was like everybody in 2020. I was working a W-2 job, ladder climber, and COVID hit and changed my whole world. Didn't want to have to ask for 4 weeks of vacation every week or year. Wanted to create a life that I wanted to live with my family. Wanted to show my kids that you didn't have to work in a cubicle your whole life. And thought that real estate was really the best vehicle to do that. So started down the path of trying to find some rental properties, ended up buying my first rental property in November of 2021. And then from there, it just kind of blew up. I became pretty good at raising capital, raised about $10 million over the course of a couple of years, and purchased 65 properties, 85 doors, did about 20 flips. And at one point had way too much going on my plate. Had all of that, had the flips, had a wholesale business, and started a lending business, as well as having 4 kids and a wife, and a W-2 still, right?
And a W-2, yeah.
I fell in the mindset that a lot of people just keep building as many things as possible and see what works the best. And just come to realize that that is not the right approach. And I didn't realize that easily. I took a lot of pain, failed a lot of times along the way. But every time I failed, it kind of pushed me a little further down the path towards I wanted to go. And I am now running a lending business. We focus on second position loans, double closes, land acquisitions, and run a multi-million-dollar fund that we started last year.
Nice. Okay, so you got a fund also. All right, cool. Well, let's step back a little bit here. So you had your full-time job. What is that full-time job? What was your W-2? What were you doing?
So I was working for a large chemical company as a digital project manager. So I was responsible for the implementation and rollout of Salesforce Service Cloud and Commerce Cloud across North America.
Good old Salesforce. So how did the real estate thing just kind of pop into your head? Did something happen? Did you see watch someone on YouTube that, what kind of pushed you?
Yeah, funny story. I actually was always opposed to real estate. My dad had a rental growing up, and it was nothing but problems. But I had a friend who, he still is in real estate. He had bought a couple rental properties, and in 2020, he's like, you should get some rentals. I'm making $400 a month in cash flow. And I really fell into the cash flow trap. You're going to buy all these rentals. You're going to get all this cash flow. You're going to buy a boat. You buy a house. You live off the cash flow.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
If I hadn't had that lie, I probably wouldn't have been so eager to jump in, but it was a good starting place. And I've since realized that it's the appreciation you're looking for. Cash flow is just there to kind of pay the bills. By bills, I mean the business bills, not your personal bills.
Yeah, you don't get rich on $400 a month. I mean, and it's funny because that's what a lot of people hear, right? And that's why you say fell into that trap. They hear, making $400,000, $500,000, $800,000 a month. But how much of those struggles are you doing? What kind of issues are you dealing with? Tenants, toilets, and termites aren't fun to deal with. No. So I would rather have a different investment than push it into that. So you bought some rentals. You bought your own personal rental first, right? Or you bought that was yours, and then you started building from there.
Yeah. So my first rental was a triplex that I bought via seller finance through a guy that I met. And that's the only rental I still own today. Like I said, it cash flows $500 a month or so right now. But I don't live off that. That just goes into account so that when HVAC goes out or roof goes out or wherever, there's cash to cover it. Right.
Perfect.
But all the other ones I bought with a partner, using a lot of private money or other people's money. And, as of last year, I've sold my half of that business to my business partner so I could focus solely on my lending business.
Okay. When you were going out and finding private money, how were you doing that? How were you finding those guys that would lend to you?
So the best place I always tell people to go when they're finding new money is go to the local meetups. There are a lot of real estate investors that kind of fall into two camps. There are people that want to invest in real estate, but once they realize how much work is involved in managing a rental property, it's very easy to convince them, give me your money, I will do the work for you and you get the returns. Mm-hmm. Or there's the other group of people which are already managing rental properties themselves, but they have self-directed IRAs that you can leverage because they can't use those funds for themselves for their own projects. And so they look for partners that they don't have existing business relationships with to invest into real estate because they know and like that asset.
Awesome. Okay. So you got these gentlemen, and that's a great place to meet people, to meet those lenders. That's been recommended before. So you got all these rentals, and then was it just too much for you, or how did the whole lending part come into play?
So in 2023, the North Carolina State Real Estate Commission put a letter out saying that they considered all of assignment of contracts for wholesalers were doing as commissions, and you had to have a license. And so I saw a need for a double close operator within the state. And so we started it then, and it started going all right, but I still had the rentals. It basically got to 2024 when I had 5 businesses going, and I realized that I wasn't going to get where I wanted to go trying to spread my time too thin. Right.
Sure.
And so I started cutting things. I knew I didn't want to be a flipper long term. Stopped doing that. Closed the wholesaling business down because it was like one of the newest things, and it was just easy to shut that down. Mm-hmm. And when I looked at my life in 10 years, I didn't see myself wanting to chase tenants and toilets and deal with, all the struggles of a rental portfolio. Right. I saw a much better opportunity, both scalable and lifestyle design in the lending space. And
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. And so I just said, if I don't want to do it in 10 years, then I don't want to do it now. Let's just exit now. I can, give my partner a pretty good deal. Just let him have that and focus on where I want to be, which will give me better returns long term.
Perfect. Okay. Very cool. So now you're doing the lending, and I know you mentioned that you're raising capital. You got a fund. Actually, let me step back a little bit. Tell folks what the whole double close is, right? Because some of the people on here might not know what a double close is.
Yeah.
And tell us how you help with that.
Yeah. So when you're a wholesaler, sometimes you do what's called a double close, which essentially you need to buy the property from the seller and then on that same day, sell the property to the end buyer. So in a typical assignment of contract, you're basically just doing one closing and you're capturing a fee.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Well, there are instances where you want to protect your profit, visibility of your profit. There's other instances where a double close is needed, where you have to do two closings. The problem or the catch with that is, for that very first closing, you have to bring all of the capital to the table. So let's say you're buying the property for $70,000 and there's closing costs. And now you've got to bring $72,000 to the table. You're going to get it back later that day, but you still got to have that money in your account. Right. And so what I do is basically come in and say, I will fund this closing for you, this A/B side. And then the end buyer brings their capital to the table later that day. I'm going to get my money back plus a small, a fee. So we charge about 1%. For use of our capital. Usually it happens within a day. Like we have one going right now. The funds went out about 20 minutes ago. We'll probably get the funds back, before 5 o'clock this afternoon. But it helps wholesalers. They don't have to focus on trying to find the money. They don't have to worry about, is this going to close on time? We always close on time. And it just helps them out with that. They can focus their time on finding more deals.
Got it. And if they already have a buyer, why can't they just have the buyer wire the money in and close it simultaneously?
So the law requires that the money that's coming from the end buyer can't be used to close the A/B transaction.
Is that a North Carolina law or is that a everywhere law?
So I think there are a few states that will allow it, but there's been a general federal mandate that says that it's highly discouraged.
Okay.
Okay.
And then so in an instance where, I don't want the seller saying I make $100,000, whatever it might be, I don't know, whatever. That's where the double close would come into play. I'd come in, I'd say, hey, look, I need $150,000 to buy this property. You lend it to me and then you close it, and then once the buyer wires money in, that goes to you.
Yep. So
are you in essence putting a lien on it or something like that, or how are you?
So we don't put a lien on it in most cases. So most of the time, these are single day transactions. Right. Our money only ever goes to the closing attorney or the title company, right?
Okay, got it.
And so how we secure that is we get all the documents done and we won't wire our funds in until the end buyer's funds are in escrow at the closing agent's office. So once those are there, then everything's signed, the money's there, there's nothing going to stop it from closing, then we'll wire our funds in. The first time we wire money to a new account, it takes about 3 to 4 hours. The second, third time, if you repeat customers, you're like less than an hour from the time we click go to when the money shows up in their account. And so a lot of times these closings happen within 2 hours of each other because the money's already there. We're just kind of the last piece of it.
Nice. Okay, perfect. So, I mean, that's a good service that I know a lot of investors might need, especially with all changing laws, right? So now let's talk about the raising capital and the fund that you have. If someone wanted to go start raising capital, right? What are some things that you struggled with when you started raising capital that they might be able to learn from?
Yeah, I think the biggest struggle with raising capital when you're just getting started is getting cart before the horse. And that you go out and try to find people that will lend you money, and then you go and find the deal. A good deal will always draw in good money. And so the first thing you should do if you want to raise capital is go out and find a really, really good deal. Not a deal that's, mediocre, but a really good deal that you can take to someone and say, hey, this is a great deal. This is all the numbers. And you have to make it extremely easy for them, right? Show them exactly what's going on. Run all the numbers for them. Lay it out very clear. Show them what the risks are to it. And then if it is as good a deal as you think it is, the chance of you being able to get money from them are very high. Now, you can start kind of pre-processing that by talking to people and, have you ever thought about investing in real estate? Are you interested in that? And kind of create a little bit of a list. But the first few are the hardest because you're an unknown entity. People you don't have much of a reputation there. But as you get...
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
More into it and you start raising some capital, and even better, you start returning capital to investors. Like A, they're going to be happy, so they're going to want to reinvest, and B, they're going to tell all their friends about how happy they are, and that's how your network grows. In the course of a couple of years, we went from very few to about 40 investors that were all we could send our deals to, and we would get things funded very quickly because we were known to be very fair. We ran our numbers very conservatively, and we always gave our investors back every penny plus some when we got them their money back. And that's the number one thing. You treat investor money better than you treat your own money.
Oh,
always.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's a great nugget for everybody that's listening is, once you start building that experience. Now, do you recommend folks keep a notebook or something that just kind of keeps track of hey, this was my deal, so they can show their deals, their past deals to new lenders, right? Hey, look, this is the stuff I did, this is the return he got, et cetera, et cetera. Do you recommend keeping that type of tracked or notebook type of thing?
100%. I probably have one around here someplace that I used to carry around to meetups, and it was one of those plastic binders with a clear front, and it would show first page was all the deals that I'd done and what the returns had been, and then pictures before and after pictures of what the projects looked like, because these investors all generally know real estate. They understand the general area. What they don't know is, are you capable of doing what you say you did, right?
Proof
and
of concept,
so being able to show the product before and after, and show the pro formas, or maybe not the pro formas, but the actual data of this is what I bought it for, this is what I sold it for, this was my profit margin. And sometimes being blunt of this one didn't go very well, right? And showing why. Shows that you're being open, honest, and transparent versus everything always being golden, rosy, and sunshine. It's not the case, right? Sometimes things go sideways, and owning up to that is important.
Well, and they're realists. They've been in the thing, they've been in the game, right? I mean, or they probably have some, simulation into it, and they've seen it. They know that, there's no perfection, right? Everything's going to be a struggle. There's always going to be something that comes up, especially in real estate. So with this capital, or with this, what do you think is the best or the first step that someone needs to do to raise capital? Besides get experienced,
Yeah. Raising capital is like everything else in real estate. It's tough when you don't have experience. So, if you're just getting started, I'd say two things. Either go find an amazing deal, and then try to find a couple people in a meetup that you can raise capital from. Or honestly, the first step in most things in real estate is start networking. Hey, I'm Loren. I do whatever, fix and flips. I do rentals. I'm looking for people that might be interested in partnering with them. I don't have a deal right now, but are you interested in looking at deals that I send to you and sharing things as you get them if they're good enough? But you got to start networking and start building some reputation, because if the first time someone ever hears from you is when you're looking for money, that's not a good look. You need to be showing up to meetings. They need to be able to put a face to the name. They need to know that you're actively doing things. And the other thing is, be prepared that on the first couple deals, you're probably going to have to give away more than you really want to. Right. Be very generous at the beginning, because the generosity helps them kind of get over the nerves of working with someone new. And it creates a good, strong foundation that then you can use long-term to better both you and their, bottom line.
Yeah, and of all things, that's a relationship business, right? You got to give a little bit to earn that trust, to build that rapport, that confidence that you're going to come through. So let's talk a little bit about our topic today: being willing to fail. Why do you think that so many people? Because we've seen it, analysis paralysis type of thing. They sit there, maybe just they're afraid to take that action step. Why are people afraid to fail?
Psychologically, loss is more detrimental to the human psyche than winning is. If you had somebody that was going to win $2 or lose $1, you would be more inclined to, take the you would feel worse taking the L than the W, and that just extrapolates since you get bigger and bigger chunks of money. I think part of it is just, if I lose, do I then associate or identify as some sort of loser, right? Or do I take a reputational hit for having taken an L, when in reality, everyone fails. And in fact, the people that fail the absolute most are the people that you would look at and see as the biggest winners, right? Because every time you fail, you're either doing one or two things. You're either learning how to not do that again, or you're going to give up. And so you have to fail, or you cannot take the next step to then try something else and fail some other different way. And you just continually take those failure steps, learning all along the way until you get to the point where, well, you never get to the point where you stop failing. You just maybe get to the point where you thought you wanted to be and then realize there's still 1,000 more steps to go, because you never really fully where you want to be. That's just the human nature.
Yeah, do you think that obviously with social media and all the glitz and glam of what these projects look like when they're done and all that, and then when someone starts and you think that, how our society looks at that, you think that's a big effect of mindset?
Oh, I think 100%. I think, if all you're looking at on social media is, oh, this person's project went great, you made $40,000. How many projects did they just break even on, right? They're not showing those things. And then occasionally you will see on social media someone post about their failures and they just get ripped apart in the comments. Oh, you should have done this and you should have done that. Well, you don't think those people don't know that they should have done those things. But, good for them for putting out that not every deal is a home run. In fact, the vast majority of real estate deals, whether they be rentals, they be flips, they be loans, they're solid base hits. And that's what you're trying to build a career and an empire on base hits, not home runs. The home runs are nice when they come, but you want to hit the base hits on a regular basis. And the better your batting average is, the more profitable your business is going to be. Yeah,
if out of 10 at-bats I hit 6-7 base hits and you hit 2 home runs, I think the team will keep me longer because I'm producing runs.
100%.
Maybe a little more frequency than you. So, okay, what are some of the techniques or tools or books or things you've used in your past just to kind of keep your mindset focused and going? Because we know all this stuff, with the world bombarding us. How do you keep it straight?
Yeah. So I'm a strong believer in fitness foundation. So if my body's not working correctly, then I don't believe my mind can work correctly. So I work out every single day, have for well over a year now, started at December of 2023, and have worked out every day since then. I read every single morning. Last year I read 34 books or something. I'm on track to read 40 books this year, and that's non-fiction books. So right now I'm reading a digital marketing book, some books that have really impacted me, over the time, or been Extreme Ownership by Jocko. Obviously,
great book.
Yeah, obviously the first one was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But there's just a lot of really good books like that. That
Who Not Now just is a good one.
Yeah, that one's a great one. If you're getting into business, there's one down here I have. It's Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. There's so much information out there. Yeah. And then the other thing that I really do is, let's say I've got a project and I'm working on like digital marketing or structuring something. I will listen to podcasts that are around those topics that I'm struggling with, not so much for the actual content in the podcast, but it sets my brain in a different frequency. And so now I'm thinking about that more, whether I'm listening to the podcast or not. And I tend to come up with ideas a lot quicker than, let's say I'm, worried about digital marketing and then I'm watching or listening to some podcast on, mindset, or struggling, failure or something.
Right.
You can adjust the frequency of your brain by what you put into it.
Well, and like you said, with the working out, with the reading, it's like working out every day is what strengthens and maintains your body. Reading every day is what strengthens and maintains. It's like my wife makes fun of me because I sometimes I'll play the little crosswords on my phone. But what you don't understand is like you're thinking, and it's using your brain as opposed to just sitting and watching some mindless stuff.
Right.
And I love it, right? Mindset's a big part of my life, and it's a big part of, I think, what a lot of people need to focus on to go past those barriers. So if someone wants to get into real estate, lending, whatever it might be, I mean, what advice would you give them with today's market, with today, you know, how things are going? You know, what first steps would you give them, or, you know, anything to look out for?
Yeah, I mean, so first steps to me are always figure out approximately what you want to do and then start networking. So everything always looks really, really rosy. You know, I'm going to make so much money in rentals. I'm going to make so much money in flips, right? Start networking with people. And as you build that knowledge base, you'll start identifying some of the tipping points or the tripping points that, you know, that you will run into. You want to identify all of them, but eventually you will have to make a decision on which way you're going to go. Too many people get stuck in this analysis paralysis where I'm not sure if I want to do rentals or flips, or I want to start a business, or I want to buy businesses. Like, any of those options, you can make millions and millions of dollars. But you have to take the step of taking action and doing one. And
fail forward.
And it might not be the right one. I started out buying rentals. You know, looking back, you know, if would I have started out buying rentals? Maybe, maybe not. I learned a ton of stuff doing the rentals, right? That has helped me in my business now. And I wouldn't be in the lending business that I have if I hadn't started there. But it wasn't a fun experience for a lot of it. There was a lot of pain and heartache during that process, but I at least took the step. If I had never bought my first rental, I wouldn't have a lending business. I wouldn't have been able to leave my W-2. You know, I wouldn't, have my own business, and I wouldn't be where I am mentally either. So you've got to take a step, and assuming that your first few steps may be failures, and that's okay. It just means that you're going to learn and adjust and move forward. But, take a step, fail, but then don't quit. Keep going. Figure out what you want to do. Adjust and keep going. Adjust and keep going. Because, at the end of the day, we only have one life. And if you are complacent and happy where you are, then you're never going to be where you actually want to get. Too many people get very, very comfortable in their 9 to 5. Well, I'll do it next year. Or, when the kids' stuff isn't so busy, when my kids are a little older, and then there'll be some reason then. And eventually they're 95 years old looking back and wishing they had changed something. Well, we can't go backwards.
Yeah. Well, and, for what is fail? First attempt at learning, right? You gotta trip. Nobody who's made millions and millions of dollars has never failed more than probably 50 to 100 times on something, right? So put the foot forward and go. I love it, man. We talked about some good stuff here, Loren. I hope everybody out here that's listening got some good nuggets and they wrote them down. If folks want to get in touch with you, maybe they're in need of a double close, or they just kind of want to talk with you a little bit more about lending, real estate, whatever, how do they get in touch with you?
Sure. So I'm pretty active on Instagram, so you can find me at Invest with Loren, Loren, on there. Our website for the double close is reidoubleclose.com. Obviously, you can reach out to me there. But those would be the two best ways. And if you're in the Raleigh area, I usually end up at a TRIA meeting on a regular basis. Okay. So happy to connect in person as well.
Awesome. And we'll put all that contact information in the show notes, guys, so you can click on it. You can get in touch with him. And Loren, thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate all that you shared with our audience. And guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Look forward to seeing you on the next one. Cheers.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.